This is a video companion to Class 104, UV Unwrapping the Chinese Lantern Part 1. It is part of the Beginner SL Mesh Modeling series that I teach at Builder's Brewery and Second Life. If you are a student in the class, you will receive the blend files and the complete lecture notes, which will go into a bit more detail than this video. In the lecture notes, I'll go over the general rules and conventions used with UV unwrapping and give some extra tips. So first, let's work on the lowest LOD, which uses a billboard style. If you have the blend files, you want to start with the starter class 104 file. If you don't have your transform properties window open or sidebar open already, you can hit the N hotkey to open it. You want to go down here to the bottom and uncheck background images. We don't need it anymore. You can hit the N hotkey to close the sidebar. And then we want to go over to the properties window here and click the object tab. Scroll down to display, click bounds. This will show you the bounding box for the object. And then we want to hit Shift C. This will center the 3D cursor. And then we want to go down to layer 4 and activate it by clicking this fourth box. Shift A, Mesh, Plane. Don't click anything yet. Go over here to your tool shelf. If your tool shelf isn't open, hit the T hotkey. That opens and closes it. Let's click Align to View. So now it's facing us. And then we want to shift select layer 1 so that we have both layers active. Let's hit the Z hotkey to go into wireframe mode. Now we want to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure you have all those vertices selected there. And we want to hit the S hotkey to scale this. We want to scale it up so that it's just slightly outside those bounding box lines. Hit A to unselect. And let's go change to edge select mode. Now right click an edge and move it with the translator up here. Move this one down. You want it to cover the whole silhouette of this object here. We can hit Z, go back to solid mode. Okay, so now you can look at progress file 1 to see that yours matches. Okay. Now we want to move on, and we're going to select all. We're in edit mode, just to make sure. And we're going to select all the vertices of this plane. Okay, by hitting A to select all. And then we're going to hit the U hotkey to bring up the UV mapping window. We're going to hit unwrap. And as you see, now our plane is unwrapped over here in the UV window. Now back over here in the 3D view, we want to go to top view, so hit numpad 7. We want to duplicate this plane, so hit Shift D. Immediately left click so that you don't move it. Now we want to rotate it 45 degrees, so let's hit R, Z, 45. Then click to confirm, left click to confirm. And you use the Z so that you can constrain it on the Z axis, so it rotates around the Z axis. So that's what the RZ45 means. So let's repeat this step again. Shift D, left click to confirm, RZ45, left click to confirm. And again, Shift D, duplicate, RZ45, let's click to confirm. Now we have our billboards all centered and in place like they should be. Now let's tab back into object mode and go back to front view by hitting numpad 1. Now, just to quickly show you that if you select all of these in here, you'll see that all of those UVs are stacked on top of each other. So this gives us more space than we would have had if we would have had each one laid out individually. That'll come in handy when we get to UV mapping this lowest LOD. So finally, we want to select this in object mode, go back over here to object tab and rename this lowest LOD. By UV mapping before the duplication, the UVs for each plane are automatically stacked on top of each other perfectly. So you should always keep in mind what kind of plan you have for what needs to be stacked, what needs to be laid out individually, and those things will change depending on what you're mapping. In the next part, we'll move on to the high LOD. Now that we have all the LODs complete, let's move on to the job of UV mapping the high LOD first, since it is the most important level visually. The rest of the model LODs will be based off of the layout that we create for the high LOD model. But first, let's add one more detail to the high LOD before we move on. So we're in progress file 2 right now, if you have the blend files, or if you're following along with your own file, just continue on where we left off. Now we want to isolate layer 1. We just want this high LOD right now. And then we want to turn off the bounding box display. Go back over to the object tab here. Go down, uncheck box. Right click select the model, tab into edit mode. Hit A to unselect anything. Alright, now what we want to do is select every other one of these edge loops that's running vertically down the lantern body. So I'm going to go to top mode, top view here, and I'm going to hold Alt and select an edge. I'm going to skip one, hold Shift while still holding Alt, right click. Do this all the way around. And remember, you're holding Shift, Alt, and right clicking to get the whole edge loop. So you have the whole edge loop there. Now go to Control E, mark sharp. Now in the properties menu, properties window over here, we want to go to the modifiers, add a modifier, edge split, uncheck edge angle. We want to have our marked sharp edges designate what is sharp, what is smooth, and what is flat. Okay, so now that we have these sharp edges here, it gives us more definition here. on these pieces. Now we're going to hit apply. Remember, you always have to be, well, for most modifiers you need to be in object mode to apply a modifier. And at this point we can move on to UV mapping our high IoT. So let's open our tool shelf by hitting T. We scroll down to mesh options. Let's tab into edit mode here. And go down to mesh options. And we want to click this pull down and hit tag scene. This will allow you to place seams without going to the edge menu every single time. Note that you have to hold down the control key while right clicking to select an edge to tag it. But we're going to tag some edges later on, so don't worry about that right at this moment. I wanted to go ahead and activate it from the beginning. So let's type the N hotkey to bring up properties window over here, property sidebar over here. And let's go down to display. And then go to shading. And let's click texture solid. This will let us see our UV texture in real time on the model, which is very helpful when you're UV mapping. Let's use one of the Blender UV mapping presets. So you go up here, click UV editing. Okay, this gives us a nice division of windows here. And now we want to go to the 3D view, which is here, and go into face select mode. Let's click here. Use numpad 1 to go into front view. I'm going to hit 5 to go in orthographic view here. And at this point we want to select all the faces of the lantern body. So to do this, we're going to turn off limit selection so that we can see through the model. We're going to hit the B key to bring up box select, go across here, and then hit Control L to select the linked geometry. So everything that's linked will be selected. Type U to bring up the UV mapping menu. Hit unwrap. Next, select all the UVs in the window, in the UV window, which they are, and then you will see this sidebar in the UV window. We want to click stretch, and this will show us how much stretching and distortion we have in our UVs. Let's turn this limit selection back on here. Let's go in under display. Let's make sure texture solid is checked. When you change the presets here, sometimes you have to do the things 2 times, so let's do that again. So if this was red, that will show us that we had a lot of stretching. So red is a lot of distortion, blue means no distortion, and the blend of colors in between tells us different amounts of distortion. So now we want to, with these selected, go down here and click New. And we can leave this as default. You could rename this if you want it. Something like Grid if you want. And then click UV Test Grid. And there we go. As you can see, we have nice uniform squares, which is what we want. And we have seams along the natural seams of this item, so we're good to go. And now at this point, you might want to go in here and use the island selection mode to click whole islands of UVs. Hit the G key to move them. And rotate them a little bit to make them a little straighter. We don't want these overlapping. I'm using the R key to rotate, just to make these stand up straight a little bit more here. Now, let's hit A, select all, and then hit Control A to average island scale. So make sure all these islands have the same scale. And then we can use Control P to pack islands. But I'm going to undo that right now actually, because I'd rather have them stacked like this. We're going to work on some more later. We're going to tweak those, but for right now, we're just going to move them off and move on to the next part. You can open Progress File 3. See what you should have. Now we're going to pause and then move on to the top rim of the lantern. Now we want to unwrap the top rim. So we're in Progress File 3. Zoom in a little here. And then we want to change to edge select mode. We can do it a different way this time. Let's hit Control Tab and hit edge. Click one edge on the top, and let's click another edge on the side here. And now Control L to link to select the link geometry. Now I can do Shift H to hide everything that isn't selected. So I can have this on the screen right now. And only have these faces active over here in the UV window as well. So it helps to unclutter everything. Now unselect all. Control numpad 1 to go to back view. Now I want to control click this middle edge. Now remember that we have tag seam on. So now this selection turned into a seam. Now if we didn't have tag seam turned on, we'd have to select seams and do Control E make seam every time. This way we can cut out a little bit of those steps. Now select that edge and go Control L to select all delete geometry with that edge, so we have just the edge rim. Now we can hit U, unwrap, and there we go. At this point, we want to add our grid texture to these faces. So let's go over here, new window, select all by hitting A. Go down here, select texture. Now we can see our grid texture on here. We can see that no stretching, so we're good to go. Now we want to tackle the top face. Let's go into top view, hitting numpad 7. Unselect all here. Let's get the B. Let's hit B to bring up box select and drag here. Let's change the face select mode. Let's click here. Let's do it again. You can even hit Control L just to make sure you have all those top faces. Now go back to numpad 7 to be in top view. Hit numpad period to center the selection. And now we want to go U, project from view, so make a straight on projection of whatever is in the view. Let's go over here, select all of this, give it that grid texture. Now, as you can see, these squares are smaller than these squares. They're all uniform, but they're not the same scale. And this would cause your production textures to be improperly scaled, and that's just not cool. So let's select all, and then we're going to come over here, and we're going to go Control A to average the scales. You can find that here too under average island scales. And so now you can see that the scales are equal, which is what we want. And now we're just going to move these off so we can work on the other parts. So we're going to hit G and just move these down. Go back over here to 3D view, hit Alt H to unhide the rest of the model. And then you can open Progress File 4 to compare your file to it, see what you have.